This past weekend, all the anime released the 1995 film Macross Plus on the big screen, and I got the chance to watch it for the very first time. But not only was it my first time watching Macross Plus, it was my first time watching anything from the Macross franchise, and I've got to say that it blew me away. Before I get into my thoughts though, I want to hear from you guys, so head on down to the comment section below. Let me know if you've seen Macross Plus before. Have you seen the OVA? Have you seen the movie edition? Did you manage to watch it on the big screen, and if so, what did you think about watching it there? Also, please do leave a like on this video and subscribe if you're a fan of mecha anime content and want to see plenty more videos like this in the future. We'll start off with the positives, and I'll be completely honest with you guys, most of this review is going to be very, very positive because I absolutely love this film. But kicking things off, this is unsurprisingly visually striking, but it has that old classic anime feeling to it. There's a certain amount of grain to it, there's a certain amount of not quite pristine, clean looking, but also every frame just feels so meticulously crafted, whether it's from the action sequences, whether it's building up the world, and speaking of the world, it feels lived in. Every frame fully kind of captures that feeling of being in a bustling environment, or being up in the air, or being out in space. It just really captures the feeling where it's very difficult to do that in animation. It's easier to do it in live action because you kind of physically get that feeling anyway, you can relate to it more, but doing it in animation and doing it well is not necessarily hard to come by, but it's hard to craft, and they got it right. This film looks amazing, and it kind of shouldn't be surprising because there's a hell of a lot of anime from the 90s that does. In fact, most of it does. The film also isn't afraid to go weird and abstract with its imagery. When you get some of these concert sequences, the stuff that's going on feels like it would be out of a Satoshi Kon film. His entire filmography pretty much came after this releasing, so maybe there's a little bit of inspiration there. I don't know, maybe Satoshi Kon was heavily inspired by a lot of the concert sequences in this film, because I look at this and I look at Perfect Blue. Yeah, I notice similarities there in terms of how they approach kind of abstract imagery, which is really cool. And in this film, the abstract imagery is weird, but also it kind of just fits into the narrative and falls into a natural place. And that's something I really appreciate about Macross Plus, is that it manages to do all these different things, of which we will talk about, but they all kind of fit together. It can do anything from romance to drama to action to character building to weird abstract imagery like the stuff you get in the concerts. All of it just works. If there's one thing I wanted out of Macross Plus, that is action. That is exciting, adrenaline-fueled sequences of jets flying around and them transforming into mecha and then fighting off against one another. That is what I wanted from this film, and it absolutely delivers that when it's there. Personally, I would have liked a little bit more action than what was in the film, especially early on. I mean, you have the whole third act, which is phenomenal, which we'll talk more about soon, but I guess for the first couple of acts, there are sequences here and there, but it is largely drama and character focused, which makes sense considering what the film is intending to be. I just would have liked a little bit more early on. The stuff we get early on, though, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely phenomenal. It kind of injects you with that feeling of adrenaline. It feels like you're watching an animated version of Top Gun, for example, and it is so exciting to watch. Like I said, visually striking, the animation is incredible. Those sequences are absolutely fantastic. And whilst we are talking about action and that third act, this is one of the best third acts I might have ever seen. And I'm talking across the board, in film, in television, in anime. It is such a well-crafted third act that from the moment you have Isamu arriving in the YF-19 to Earth's atmosphere, and then information high kicking in to the final few moments of the film, that whole sequence in between there never really lets up, and it is so engaging on a character level, but also just on a visual level as well. It just gets everything right, and like I said, it's one of the most exciting third acts I've probably ever seen put to screen. And while we're on information high, let us talk about the music. Across the board, it's fantastic. You have the score from Yoko Kanno, a legend within anime music, Cowboy Bebop, of course, probably what she's most well known for, but she's done plenty of other stuff outside of that, and her score here is fantastic. It is so distinctly her and offbeat and different, but having that sci-fi feeling, but also kind of evoking elements of westerns as well. It feels definitely like a Yoko Kanno soundtrack. Also kind of injects a little bit of Ghost in the Shell into there as well, which it probably wasn't intentional necessarily, because this came out like around the same time Ghost in the Shell came out. No notes, it's great. But then you also have the original songs sung within the film by Sharon Apple, the AI singer that's the focal point of the story of this film, and those songs are also really, really good. Information High is my personal favorite, and that's a bit more of a dance track, but it works so well within like an exciting action sequence like the third act. But then you also have some kind of more like weird ethereal type songs as well that kind of put you like in this other state of being when you're listening to them. And it works so well because the music can shift from one genre to another, but it still feels like it's made by the same person. Just everything about this film can kind of shift from one thing to the next, and all of it just works. What truly surprised me most about Macross Plus is the depth to the storytelling and the narrative. Like everything that it's telling within its story, within its script, has far more depth than you would think watching something that's about like fighter jets transforming into robots. You wouldn't think that it would have the kind of thematically rich storytelling in here or compelling characters, but it executes them incredibly well. The plot is pretty much dealing with an AI singer developing sentience and feeling, and in an age currently where artificial intelligence is a major point of concern in the world, not only does this film work like in the context of 1995, but it probably works even better now than it did in that year. And on the character side of things, there's emotional depth and subtlety to pretty much everyone. You have some characters that have these larger than life, bigger personalities, very anime type characters. I mean, Isamu, like one of the lead characters here, very much like a womanizer. It kind of evokes a similar feeling to Spike Spiegel, of course, comes from Cowboy Bebop. But much like Spike, he's not a one-note character. He is not just that womanizer. He is also someone who has a deep love for flying. He loves kind of the experience of teetering on the brink of life and death and danger and chasing that danger, and it just makes the character like more than just this one thing, which should be a given with any sort of storytelling, but it's not always the case. This film goes above and beyond. It gives subtlety to those characters. It develops relationships between them. You care about this core like love triangle dynamic that's going on. It doesn't feel too cheesy either, which is a direction it definitely could have gone in. It feels mature, it feels realistic, and I love that. The only thing I really take issue with, and it's going to be very minor, it might not even bother me in the future, is some of the CG work in here. There are moments where it works when they use it in the concert sequences. I think it works there just because of how, abstract the imagery is in those. It works to have this really bad looking 90s CGI thrown in there as well, because like I said, it just works with the whole abstract concepts that they're going for. But when you have all the sequences in the film where they essentially do like a hyperspace jump, I forgot what it's called specifically within this universe, they use CGI there and it's like a really undercooked CGI that just does not look very good, very 90s looking video game kind of thing. It doesn't work there for me personally. It kind of took me out a little bit, and there are other moments where the CGI does take me out a little bit. But for the most part, the film looks incredible. It's a very minor issue. Who knows? When I next watch this, which no doubt I will rewatch this at some point in the future, it might be a non-issue for me, but as it stands, it's the only thing that actually bothered me when I was watching it. So yeah, overall, Macross Plus Movie Edition specifically we're talking about here is incredible. This truly did blow me away. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. I went in hoping for great action, and that's kind of all I wanted. And of course, I wanted it to look visually very good as well. But it gave me more than that. It gave me characters that I wanted to root for, that I was compelled by, that I enjoyed their character arcs that they went through, how the relationship developed, but also it's thematically rich. It feels relevant now as much as it did 30 years ago nearly, and that's a testament to storytelling sometimes, when you can come across a concept that works as well 30 years later as it did when it was made, if not better 30 years later than when it was made. That's an impressive feat, and it's not something that can easily be pulled off, and sometimes not even intentionally pulled off. Sometimes it's just a stroke of luck, and they absolutely got that stroke of luck here. And even though I've only seen this one time, I can probably quite comfortably say that this is gonna be an all-time favourite anime film of mine for years to come. So with all that in mind, I'm gonna give Macross Plus Movie Edition an A. So those were my thoughts on Macross Plus Movie Edition. Before I get out there, please do leave a like on this video and subscribe if you're a fan of Mecha anime content and want to see plenty more videos like this in the future. Also head on down to the comment section below, like I said earlier, let me know your thoughts on this film if you've seen it or if you've seen the OVA version. Whichever you want to talk about, feel free to do so. And since this was my first time watching anything Macross, I want to hear some recommendations from you guys about what I should watch next, or just generally what I should watch from the Macross franchise in the future. Thank you once again for tuning into Mecha Chat today. I'll see you guys next time.